Hello there, Andy Slawetsky. I am joined today by David Gibbons of RT Media. David is joining us today from Zhuhai, China. How are you, David?
G'day there, Andy, and hello also to the people that might be viewing as well across the world. The amazing technology allows us to do things, and I guess with this new pandemic crisis that we're facing, Andy, we're probably looking more to this kind of technology to connect with each other because we still need to be social, even though it's supposed to be social distancing, but we're still social creatures, I guess. So thank you very much for the invitation to come on board. And I'm safe and well here in Zhuhai, China. And to be honest with you, I feel like I'm in one of the safest places in the world. So I'm all good.
So that's great to hear. In Australia, in China right now.
Yep.
So RT Media, you guys are a big supplies organization. Can you give us a little bit about, what it is that you guys do? Where are your people? I know they're all over the world. Literally, you've been remote before people had to go remote. So that probably wasn't a big adjustment for you, but certainly some of the shows that you were running, just give us a little background on where you guys stand and maybe just tell my viewers exactly who RT is.
Yeah, well, you've said I'm an Australian. I've been living here in China for 10 years. I helped start up the RT group here with Tony Lee back in 2007, then moved here in 2011 and have been here ever since. We run the RemaxWorld Expo in Zhuhai, China, which is some 15,000 people, 420 odd exhibitors here in Zhuhai. So it's the largest print consumable show in the world, dedicated print consumables, and moving now into other printing devices. So we started off with 3D printers, but moving into other printing devices. We also run publications. We've got our ImagingWorld magazine.
I am a subscriber.
Thank you very much. I knew there was somebody out there. And thank you very much. And we publish that in English, Chinese, of course, Spanish, but also we have Russian partner and an Arabic partner. So 5 languages altogether. So that keeps us very busy. And we run regional events. In this year we were planning, but they've all had to be postponed, events in Europe, 3 cities in Europe, 3 cities in Latin America in July, and then in November, 3 cities in Africa. We don't know what's happening in November yet. Maybe Andy, you can tell me what's going on.
I don't know. So pushing all these shows back, it's almost like most of the year has been washed out for you. What are you doing to keep busy? What are you doing to? Obviously, you've got a huge following. You've got a lot of partners and vendors involved in moving parts to all the shows that you do. What are you substituting in the place of those shows? Is there
the good thing is we haven't had to put any people off staff at the moment, so that's good. But we don't know the future. Nobody knows what's going to happen next month. I mean, we didn't know 3 months ago what we'd be facing now. So there's never been a time when we've been so unsure of our future. Before, Andy, you and I would buy a ticket, we'd jump on a plane and go somewhere. We might buy months in advance, get our hotel bookings done, whether it's for a holiday or for business. And you would just assume when the day comes, you just go to the airport, get on the plane, it would be there waiting for you, take you to where you have to go. And we've taken a lot for granted, I think. But now it's very difficult to know how to plan. And, we're a month or so ahead of you guys there in the US, but we're still in partial lockdown. I'm in my office here at the moment. But, we have these little guns, aimed at us all the time to take our body temperature. We're still in partial lockdown, but offices and factories are open. So, there's a sense of coming out of this pandemic, but this crisis. But nevertheless, schools are all closed, all events are closed, public gatherings. So basically, it's just some shops, some restaurants, and mostly restaurants where you can go and pick up the food and take it home. Of course, pharmacies and supermarkets have always been open. But now the shopping malls are, the cinemas, theatres are all closed still. So, you know, we're talking 3 months down the track where all of these things are still closed. So, you know, to go into a shopping mall, I've got to take my mobile phone and I've got to scan a QR code. Fortunately, in English, they've got that. And I have to be able, the phone actually tracks your movements for the last 14 days. So it knows whether you've been in Wuhan, even if you've been in the Wuhan wet markets or anything like that, knows specifically where you've been, and will lock you out if you've been in zones which have not been shut down. So fortunately, because I've been still here in Zhuhai, it gives me a green arrow to enter the shopping mall. Then they take the temperature by shooting this gun at you and coming up with a temperature, and there I am. I've got 34.7. So I'm okay. So that's Celsius. So that's that. So there's very, very stringent conditions still put in place. So we just don't know what's going to happen. Our big show in October, where 60% booked out now by all the exhibitors, but you can understand they're saying, well, we want to book, but we're not sure whether we're going, the authorities are going to allow this to even still take place. What happens if there's a relapse and the whole thing comes back ready to bite us again? And if they're opening up the Wuhan markets again, who knows what's really going on there. I have to believe that there's all sorts of very stringent conditions to that being reopened again, but it doesn't look good. And I believe that President Trump, just in the last hour or so, has said that he's cancelling funding to the World Health Organization because they've endorsed China reopening the wet markets again. So that's very topical right now. So, nobody really knows what's going to happen. But because of the tough attitudes that they're taking here, the police come in and they check the clipboard and to make sure all the staff are all being tested twice a day for body temperature and that sort of thing. I feel very safe. But when I go into the local Starbucks here for lunch, it's only about 10% of the normal foot traffic that's there. So people are still very, very frightened.
Well, I can see why. Again, we're being a little behind you or several months behind you. I was hoping you'd be a little further on. There were some encouraging things you said that, people are back in the offices, the manufacturing is up again. The big question are the gatherings, the cinemas, the festivals, the
sporting events,
things we used to do together, going to restaurants, and you wonder how long that'll take to get back to normal. But it is, slowly but surely, it sounds like we are getting there. And, at some point or another, someone will hopefully figure out a vaccine, and then we can just get on with our lives. But until that happens, you've got to play the game. You've got to be safe. And, I actually think that maybe we could take some of the ideas that you just threw out there at us to heart, and maybe, you're doing things that we're not doing here, and the temperatures everywhere you go, and that whole app tracking you and making sure who's green and who's not, or who's allowed to go where to certain areas based on your health. I would love to see us do that here. We're not doing that yet, so maybe we'll get there, but we've got to
pick civil liberties, though. It comes down to civil liberties. How many people want to be stopped and be temperature checked and have an app on their phone and allowed to go in or not allowed to go in? And do you really want, the government to know, track your movements and know exactly who you are and where you've been and all the rest of it? We're living in a culture here in China where all of that's been foregone. They expect the government to know that sort of thing. It's a different attitude here. You expect the government to take that sort of control in your life. And so when they say stay home, we all got locked out for 4 weeks in our home before we were allowed to start even coming out again and start trying to find ourselves. The traffic on the road is probably still about 80% of normal, and we're talking about 3 months down the track now. So, but I don't know if in my country, Australia, or in the United States, whether people are going to be happy about having those sort of levels of control. And yet, it's the very thing that makes me feel safe. You know, I've got nothing to hide, and I want to be able to get out and move freely, and I want to be able to do that with some confidence, and I expect the government to be in control of it. So, you know, where do we allow governments to become heavy-handed and draconian, and where do we allow them to exercise our, you know, our freedoms that we enjoy? So where's that balance at a time such as this? Who knows?
It's a great point, and I can tell you, you know, over here where we don't have the government doesn't have the ability to take some of the steps that you guys were able to take. You know, the thing that makes me madder than anything is, and I don't go out very much, but every now and then you have to go out and get some groceries or do something, and I'm covered up. I've got the masks and I've got the gloves on and I've got the hand sanitizer and I'm doing everything I can. And then you see other people who are, here's mine, right? And you've got other people who aren't doing it, and that's their choice, right? And that's the society I live in. But the problem is, these people are going to perpetuate this disease, this virus. And you know, there's a reason I think that over here it's so much more out of control than anywhere else in the world, and that's because you've got an element of people who are just uncontrollable, that are going to do what they want to do, and you know, and it's challenging for us to deal with. So it may take us a little longer. Hopefully. You know, hopefully Darwinism will maybe take its course, and we won't have to deal with the idiot factor so much down the road. But for now, we do have it, and we do have to deal with it. So this was great, and I really appreciate you know, taking the time to chat with me. And you know, let's follow up in a few months, a few weeks, or whatever. We'll check back in, and hopefully you'll have you know, some more good news, and you'll be a little closer to that light at the end of the tunnel, and you know, show us the way, because we're, like we keep saying, several months behind you, and you know, stay safe and healthy. I'm glad you guys are doing so well out there, and you're on the mend, David. Thank you.
Okay. You take care, and I hope all of the viewers are doing the same thing. Do all the sensible things. Andy, thank you for your time today. It's been really great to catch up. Yeah, let's do it again.
Definitely. Take care, David. Bye-bye.
All the best.